It is time for On the Move, and we're going straight into the conversations of the day. It was a beautiful celebration, even from the morning show here on Channel Africa, as we celebrate Nigeria's Independence Day. That's on the 1st of October, this very day. However, even over the years within this independence, successive governments in Nigeria have tried a number of things to reduce poverty, but it's still not actually happening. Nigeria's National Multidimensional Poverty Index indicates that 67.5% of children in Nigeria aged 0 to 17 are poor, and half of all poor Nigerians are children, and that's quite worrying to this very day. The National Poverty Eradication Programme was established in 2001, and the Subsidy Reinvestment and Empowerment Programme was founded in 2012 in Nigeria, but while also the National Social Investment Programme was introduced in 2016. So these are quite a number of different programs that keep being introduced, and even so, these programs are underperforming. We're finding out a little bit about this, speaking to an academic who recently conducted a study which examined why government poverty alleviation programs in Nigeria have underperformed. Dr. Moyo is an assistant lecturer in the Department of Political Science and International Relations at the Covenant University in Nigeria. Dr. Moyo, thank you so much for your time. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
It is a pleasure. Well, there's a lot of programs that have tried, because there is quite a stark number here that we speak about. 67.5% of children are in poverty. That is quite a huge number in Nigeria, isn't it?
Yes, it's quite huge. It's quite huge.
So what is it that contributes over the years to Nigeria's poverty?
Okay, so that is a good question with no direct answer.
Mm-hmm. Are you still there, Dr. Moyo? Okay, we've lost Dr. Moyo on the line. We're going to try and get her back as soon as possible.
Sure.
And if we're speaking about just children, obviously they're adults as well, and those who take care of their children. It just shows the magnitude of what poverty actually looks like. It also makes me wonder, it's freedom, it's Independence Day, and we're celebrating freedom. What does this freedom actually look like?
Yeah, and also considering that over 133 million people are living in multi-dimensional poverty in this country. It is a country with one of the biggest populations here on the African continent. How are they affected by programs that are not really reaching them? We'll continue finding out a little bit more. Okay, we've got our guest back on the line.
Dr. Moyo, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, perfect. You were speaking about how complicated and complex it is that poverty still exists in Nigeria and what contributes to it.
Yes. So I was saying that there is no one particular cause of poverty in Nigeria. However, we can say that the major cause of this would be the lack of the right approach by the government to catering to the needs of the people. Now, if you look at the issue of multidimensional poverty, this is a type of poverty that cuts beyond income. We talk about things like healthcare, we talk about things like education, we talk about things like access to clean water, among others. So the government has often had a very income-centric approach towards combating poverty in Nigeria. And then the issue is they believe that a one-time payment or a one-time transfer of funds will curb poverty or curtail poverty in Nigeria. But they need to move beyond that income-centric approach to embracing the other forms of poverty that exist. So it is not enough for you to put money in the hands of people. You also need to provide access to certain amenities that, still keeps them in that state or that continued state of poverty. So I would say to answer that particular question would be the lack of government's multidimensional approach to curbing poverty. Yeah, that is one major reason why poverty still exists in Nigeria.
Sure, you worked on research looking at this. Tell us a little bit about your study.
Okay, so my study focused on trying to examine the effect of legislative oversight in curtailing structural violence in Nigeria. And so structural violence is a very broad term, and it encompasses actions and inactions of existing structures, whether political, economical, healthcare, or otherwise, in preventing people from being able to attain the best quality of life.
Sure.
Now, taking a look at poverty. Now, poverty is a major problem in Nigeria. It's a menace. And we've seen from time that different poverty alleviation programs have been created per time. Still, people these programs were created for do not benefit from it. And we see so many programs being short-lived. After a particular government moves out of power, the new one creates another one. It's just, it goes on and on and on again. And you would think for a country that has several poverty alleviation programs, the poverty index would reduce. However, the reverse is the case because it keeps climbing. So I wanted, through my study, I was trying to examine the effectiveness of legislative oversight in addressing this particular situation. And I realized that from that study, there's a major problem of weak legislative oversight, in that most of these programs are not well monitored by the legislature. And as such, we have issues of corruption, embezzlement. As a matter of fact, individuals who ought to benefit from these schemes or from these programs end up not being beneficiaries of these programs.
Could you give us examples of some of these programs that you think are not effective? Because many of us come from outside of Nigeria and we would not know enough about the programs.
Okay, so we have the National Social Investment Programme, which was recently or fairly recently implemented in 2016. And if you look at the state of Nigeria now in terms of poverty, you'd see that rather than a decrease, we see an increase. Although there are different programs under the said program, like Empower, Seeds and Leads and JIP, but what we can observe from this is that there has been an increase, particularly with the COVID-19 pandemic. It led to like a major skyrocketing of the poverty levels in Nigeria. And if we cast our minds back to other programs we had, for example, the Bank of Nigeria, the Poverty Alleviation Program, that is PAP, the Structural Adjustment Program, amongst others, these programs have per time been created to battle the menace of poverty, but have often been short-lived. If you look at President Yar'Adua's 7-point agenda to take Nigerians out of poverty, it was also quite short-lived because many of the things he sought to do did not happen, you know, and like that is just an example. These are just examples of so many poverty alleviation programs we've had, both during the SAP era, the pre-SAP era, and the post-SAP era.
Well, we're going to take a short break, Dr. Moyo. I think, it's so multidimensional how you speak about this, because even though these programs come with different names, but they're not really reaching what they're supposed to be reaching. And as you said, they're not, dynamic enough to actually reduce poverty. Instead, poverty continues to increase in Nigeria. We want to take a break and find out afterwards, what are some of the factors that you saw responsible for this? But also what needs to be done. I mean, the programs are there, meaning there is somewhat of a willingness to reduce poverty, but something is not happening within these programs. And hopefully you'll be able to tell us what, so that maybe in the future, when new programs are, put in place, then we know exactly what are some of the elements that should be in those programs that hopefully can see those numbers going down. We're speaking to political scientist, Dr. Moyo, who's also an assistant lecturer in the Department of Political Science and International Relations at Covenant University in Nigeria.
AUSISA, the Association of Water and Sanitation Institution of South Africa, is a platform uniting Africa's water professionals. This November, Africa leads the conversation on water and sanitation. Join global and African leaders at the AUSISA Africa and Global South Dialogue 2025 from the 9th till the 12th of November at the Emperor's Palace, Johannesburg. From policy innovation, this is where action meets collaboration for a water-secure future. Register today at ausisa-watersun-dialogue.org or follow at AUSISA on social media. AUSISA, working together for sustainable water and sanitation security in Africa.
9 to 12 midday, Central African Time.
On the move with
and Benjamin Mushatama.
Hey, thank you for joining us as we begin a new month. And welcome to October, right? To everyone. You are listening to On the Move right here on Channel Africa. Well, we're going to be looking at Nigeria today in terms of its poverty levels. It is worrying to see the high numbers continuing despite government programs that are aimed at reducing this high level of poverty. Well, we're speaking to Dr. Moyosoluwa Dele-Dada, who has a study which examined why government poverty removing programs in Nigeria are actually underperforming. Dr. Moyo is on the line. She's an assistant lecturer in the Department of Political Science and International Relations at Covenant University, which is in Nigeria. Well, Dr. Moyo, let's look at that thing, because the more you speak, I feel like I relate to it as a South African, because we also have the highest levels of, inequalities in the country, in the world, actually. I want to get your thoughts in terms of where do you start when you do a study such as yours? What did you actually look at practically, and what did you observe when you were actually looking in those particular directions of study?
Okay, thank you so much for that question. At first, what I looked at clinically was the poverty levels in Nigeria. I tried to study the trends, the patterns per time, per year. Then I also identified, measures that have been put in place per time to curb the menace of poverty in Nigeria. And I realized that we've had too many programs, but so little result in curbing the menace of poverty. And even at that, even with having too many programs, there's little or no result to show for it, because the common man can't even access basic necessity, right? And you create programs, you create schemes, you create policies that are channeled towards eradicating this, but your policies are not showing forth results. So what exactly is the problem? Have we not gotten to the point where we realize that we have too many policies but no result to show for it? And it has almost gotten to the point where it almost feels like creating poverty alleviation programs is just something our leaders think they ought to do, right? And we are not checking the necessary boxes. We are not doing sufficient research before churning out programs. We are not engaging with relevant stakeholders before churning out programs. And this is something that I have come to realize through this particular study. And looking at examples of other countries and how they've been able to manage various programs that were put in place. So I am not saying that challenges may not arise in the implementation of a program. I am not saying that.
Sure.
But I am saying that with the right approach, with the right people doing the right responsibilities, those challenges can be curbed, those challenges can be addressed, and even the program itself can be adjusted to fit into the reality of the common man. The approach of the Nigerian government towards poverty has always been a top-down approach. You assume that this is what the people need. It's like saying, I need sugar right now, but you're giving me salt.
Yeah.
What do I want to use salt for? I want sugar. And you're not even understanding the realities of the common man. You just sit in your cushy offices and draft out programs for us and then push it out there and think it's going to work. It's not going to work because these programs are not mirroring the realities of the common man. And as such, abandoning the bottom-up approach to policy making makes all this program basically just beautiful on paper. Because it's basically like saying, someone needs, probably somebody needs access to something, and maybe access to healthcare, and you're giving the person access to education. That is not my present need right now. This is what I need. And again, the income-centric approach is also another problem. The Nigerian government believes that a one-time payment is enough to solve poverty in Nigeria. It is not. You have to merge these things together. And the worst part is most of these payments that they make are not predictable. So you could register for a particular scheme right now to benefit from it, and you could receive a payment in January, maybe on the 14th of January, and you might not receive any payment again till like December, 14th of December. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
It's not okay. I need to be able to be sure that my payments will come as at when due. If you're giving me 14th of January, I must have that payment 14th of February, and so on and so forth. Now, it is not also enough to give payment. You must also complement it with necessary skills that are needed to empower the people. So it's almost similar to that saying of don't give me the fish, teach me how to fish. So it is not enough to keep putting money in my hand. You also have to empower me with the necessary skills to make that money on my own.
Yeah.
So even if you're paying me for this, I need certain skills. Maybe I need to go to school, or maybe I need to learn a certain trade, or maybe I need to become an expert in this and that, so that it will get to a point where I'm no longer dependent on you anymore for the constant payment, where I can stand on my own as a person and make my daily bread.
Dr.
I don't know
Moyo,
if that makes any sense.
of course, it makes a lot of sense. And there's another dynamic that we struggle with a lot on the African continent, the rest of the world as well. But particularly when it comes to these programs that the government keeps implementing in Nigeria. Let's speak about that concept. The one thing that we struggle with the most everywhere: corruption, politicization, and the diversion of funds from where they're actually supposed to be. How big of an impact does this have on, I guess, the impact of these anti-poverty structures and programs that don't work?
Okay, thank you for that question. I would say it has a very big, if there was another word I could use, in fact, it has a very dangerous impact on these programs, because for any program to be implemented, certain funds need to be put aside, targeted towards that particular implementation. Now, when you divert funds meant to cater to that particular program, you divert it to your pocket, you divert it elsewhere, and then you leave peanuts. How is that peanut supposed to go round to meet the needs of individuals that it ought to meet? And that is why we have cases where even people who ought to benefit from these programs do not end up benefiting from the programs. That is why we have cases where you pay today and then you pay like in December. That is why we have a lot of inconsistencies in meeting the needs of people. So you've created the program, you've created a policy, you've allocated a budget to meet this particular need, and then someone goes ahead to divert that fund into their own pockets. And so it's like saying, I need to go to the market to buy certain things, and I give someone the money to buy those things because, like, I already know how much this costs, how much this costs, how much this costs. I put the total and I give it to you. And then you take a chunk of it. Even if you take just 10 naira from it, you have shortchanged me in a way.
Sure.
And and so we both know that it's more than just taking peanuts from it. They take a chunk of it and leave the peanuts for what? It tells 133 million people to deal with. Like, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't balance out though, right? But what are the recommendations as we wrap up? We've only got a minute left. What's your key recommendation in dealing with the fact that, government programs are not reaching the ordinary Nigerian?
Yes, my recommendation would be, number one, creating a people-centric policy. So beyond what the government thinks we need, the government needs to understand what we need, not what they think we need, and adopt the bottom-up approach towards policy making. And I also think that the legislature should sharpen its oversight, should carry out that oversight responsibility very well, effectively, because they are the representative of the people, and like they are only hope in terms of issues that affect the government. And so they should take that job of theirs very seriously.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Moyo. Thank you for giving us your insights in Nigeria there. That's Dr. Moyo Dele-Dada, Assistant Lecturer in the Department of Political Science and International Relations at Covenant University. What's your take on that one? We'd love to know from you. Let us know on our WhatsApp number, +276 406 9126. Hey, let's move on right now. It is 9:30 Central African time. Let's get the latest sports.
Sports. on Channel Africa. The African Perspective.